Have you just wondered, why the hell are you a realtor? Well, that's how I've been feeling for the last couple of days. So let me kind of take you through my last 2 days. So you do everything you have to do for, a client. And, that's what I do for my client. And did all the paperwork, getting it ready and what have you. And he says, okay, well, you won the deal. You can go ahead and list my property. And I said, okay, great. He says, come by tomorrow and you'll be able to do that. Mind you, you went through hell to get that contract. so everything is cool, everything goes well, and you're like, okay, great. And then I get a phone call right after that meeting with the investor. I have an investor that I'm working with. And so client calls and says, hey, I noticed your ad. I would like to, get some more information. I said, okay. So I'm about to tell her about the program. I work along with Home Partners of America with their lease purchase program. So I'm about to tell her the program when she breaks down and starts crying. Pause for a minute. In my mind, I'm like, here we freaking go again. Another client that's not going to be able to qualify for the program. I'm going to be wasting my time, my energy. I already got someone that's going to be difficult, but, I got to go do this deal. So, start back up, and I say, I'll be happy to help you. So, like most realtors do, we all go through that. So I said, okay. So I go ahead and I actually get her name, her address, and she says, can you meet me in 30 minutes? My husband will be home for lunch. I'm off today, but I have all the children. And I said, no problem. She gives me the address. I run over there, and her friend opens the door. I go in, and she says, can you come downstairs? And so I go to this basement, and they have air mattresses and just a thin piece of carpet laid on the floor where their family is actually living with this friend. I said, okay. And so she has a stack of paperwork that she had read on my website that you needed. And so I said, oh, okay. So I said, so what's going on? And I was about to tell her about the program and get some more information about, from her. And I said, oh, by the way, why are you not buying? And she starts to tear up. Well, in the meantime, her husband comes in. We run back up the stairs. Once again, I'm thinking, why the hell am I a realtor? So I get up the stairs, and her husband has, he's getting the paperwork together. He's calming her down. And then they finally tell me they were just scammed by a person who they answer ad on the Craigslist. And the scam is so bizarre. They went to the house, viewed the house. The house was empty. Viewed the house, signed a contract, a property management contract. And the person says, oh, okay, you like the home. I already have a person, actually, but they only gave me half of the deposit. So what you're going to need to do is go ahead and give me, if you want the place, you would need to give me the full amount of money. And so it's like $5,600 that they needed to come up with. And so they said, no problem. So they gave this person $5,600. This person met them back, not at the home, but met them at a different location. And then they actually got keys for this place. They moved in. 2 days later, they get a knock on the door saying, hey, look, we're supposed to be here. Why are you here? And I thought, I've heard this story before doing this program. Like, this is incredible. So they did say they actually did call the police, and they said that, the police tried to set up some type of sting or whatnot, but the person never showed up. So they were out of this money that apparently she had took out her 401k, and his story, her husband's story was his company had closed down. It was one thing after another with this family. And I'm looking at credit scores because they got all the paperwork pulled out. I'm looking at the W-2s where he did used to make the money, but the guy who he worked for was mismanaging the money for the company. So he lost that job. In the meantime, they also was in debt and what have you. So now they're living with a family, or not a family member, but a friend that she worked with. So in the process of all of this, I'm thinking, okay, this is extremely sad, that someone's out there just taking someone's money, and this is like the 4th time I've heard this story. So it is definitely a scam here in Colorado that's going on. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I help them? And so she says, do you know of anyone that can actually help us? And I said, I don't know. Let me just see what I can do. And at that point, that's when she actually said, we can't keep living like this. But we don't have any more money. We took this out of my 401k. I'm in debt. He's getting garnishments. And I said, okay. So I called that same investor, and I asked that investor, I said, hey, Mr. Investor, can you please, work out a deal? I know you know of people who rent, homes, and you have a lot of connections. Can you help me out? We had been friends for a little bit anyway. And I said, well, can you help me out? And he said, Tanya, you've been way too nice. People tell you all these fantasy stories, and, it's just not, I don't know. So I said, well, you know what? We're already going to meet. Give me 10 minutes of your time. We can meet her on her lunch hour along with him, and maybe we can actually get down to the bottom of this. And if not, we walk away. We had to do our contracts anyway. So he said, okay, that's fine. So we meet her at the hospital where she works, and she said, same story, same paperwork and everything out there. He said, okay. Her husband spoke to the investor one-on-one and said, it's a daggone shame. I'm an educated man. My wife is educated. And here we go. We got taken, by this person. Our life savings, we done lost twice. I trusted a man working for a company, and now I trusted a person who said that they could rent me a home. We moved in. We felt we were safe, and now we had to move out in 24 hours to get all our stuff out. And he said it's very devastating with 3 children, and I don't know if you can help us, but I would be in your debt if you really could, help us. So the investor looked at me and said, I have a home. It's out here in Aurora, and the home is going for $540,000. That was the home that I was actually going to put on the list for him. That's my today. That was, my yesterday, but now we're at the job today, and I just came back from there and the meeting, and so this is what's going on now. And basically he said, yes, I have a home. It was going to be put on the market for $540,000. If I was to rent this property, it would go for easily $3,200 a month. It's brand spanking new. It's all remodeled. It's, you can go look at it, see if you want. He didn't hesitate. He said, well, I'm looking at your credentials. What do I need to do? He said, well, you're going to need to go down to the office because you're looking at me and her. She's a realtor. She has a badge on and whatnot. But once again, you didn't ask us for any information. You're going to jump right on this. And he said, I don't know, no one else has offered me anything. And the investor said, well, whoa, hold up. He said, you can't afford this. I'm looking at your financials. I do this for a living. You can't afford this house. And so he says, oh, he said, you're right. He said, I got so excited. You're right. I can't afford this house. He said, but you can afford it if I do this for you. I'll give you this home for $2,100 a month. You guys can move in. After you go down to this address, check me out, check my company out, make sure we're legit, get the keys, go over there and view the home. You know, make sure everything is okay for you and your family. And I'll give you the home for $2,100. Plus, I will not charge you the deposit up front. What you would do is go ahead and make this throughout the year, the $2,100. They were so excited. So he looks at me, he says, I need to talk to you to the side. And he says, that was the home I was going to list with you. And I said, I know. And he said, I'm losing major money on this deal. And I said, I know. He said, well, in the process, I forgot to tell you guys that his person who runs his property had already ran their credit and checked their jobs out and everything. That's how fast this was moving. And said, you know, they were legit. They worked where they said they would work. He had pay stubs. She had pay stubs. But, you know, they still was doing their checking on these folks. And talked to the last landlord. And the last landlord said they came to me early. They didn't miss any payments. They just told me, we are struggling to pay you. If you could please let us out this contract. And they did. And so he just told me, he said, Tanya, this was a real life story. He said, but this was the home that you was going to list, that you really needed the deal. And I said, yeah. And I said, some days I just wonder, why the hell am I a realtor? And then I think about it, and I thought, to do this, to help someone who did not have the resources to help themselves. And here I am, I was able to actually help them with my resources and to a crisis that they get to move in Saturday and they don't have to pay rent until December 1st and the deposit throughout the year. And they get to, he's going to hook them up with the property management company where he can, his own personal property management company, where they can go ahead and get their credit cleaned up. And the only stipulation he made with them is he told them, in about a year, a little over a year, you guys are going to be in a good situation where, you know, you'll be able to buy. But you must use Tanya as your realtor. That is the only stipulation I have for you guys. He said, you got to use her. And they said yes. And he looked at me after that meeting as we was walking to the car. He said, I'm so sorry. You know, I know we was going to work together, and I feel like, you know, this is another letdown for you. And I said, but I'm actually doing well. You know, I said, when I got to that house, I had a negative mindset. And I thought, here we go again. Another client, another woe me type of situation. And I just wasn't going to be able to get another deal. And then working with you and working with them, I realized that everything was going fine and that we were okay with getting things done. And so I'm glad for that. I'm actually blessed, and I feel great about it, and I feel at ease about it, and I feel like things are going okay. It's going to be okay. And I just wanted to let you guys know there's a reason why we're realtors. There's a reason why we do what we do. And the blessings just keep rolling in each and every time. You do good for someone, it will come back to you. It really will. So that's my story. Why the hell am I a realtor? Until next time, keep it safe out there.